Women in Dulwich County care about their shirts like the apple of their eye. From times immemorial, their first care has been to dress up nicely and even smartly. Rare are the cases when Dulwich women have a simple shirt owing to skin. The shirt of the fair sex is generally beautiful from the child to the grandmother, said the well-known physician, scientist and passionate ethnographer Charles Logier. That's how the Romanian traditional shirt called ear is. The wonderful blouse painted by Matisse seems to be beauty synonymous with forever youth and life without death. The Romanian traditional shirt is talking to us about belonging to an identity space, about householders and housewives, about occupation and skills, about respect for the land and the birthplace, about love for the village life inherited from the elderly. It is a story about uniqueness, about particularities that put forward this wonderful universe inspired from the popular culture. The Altinian shirt is mainly an identity brand, a mark for the fineness of the cloth, the refinement of the seam, the pride of wearing it. The traditional shirt renders the picture of the Romanian peasant's life, from childhood to old age, taking us through the most important moments of his life: wedding, christening, burial, and religious celebrations. Besides the holiday shirt, there existed in Oltinia ritual shirts too, for the deceased, for mourning, for the widow, the shirt of maidenhood, mother-in-law, groom, or godfather. The Altinian shirt differs from one region to another in composition, motifs, and colors, all these varying according to the age and stature of the woman within the family and community. It was proudly worn even in everyday life, in the fieldworks or household. The embroidered pattern has been the pride of Dabulen's shirt. It was the starting point of the wish to revive, preserve and promote the stitch, beside the other identity brands of the village in the southwest of Dulwich County. No sooner had we passed the threshold of the little factory than you are drawn the attention, proudly, that no other region has such an embroidered pattern. The women that have rediscovered here the joy of bringing this tradition back to life remember that it was a pride to make different patterns, and that, when the unmarried girls came to the village dance wearing a colored pattern sewn on silk with the stitch points on 1 or 2 threads, said about the others that had done it on 3 or 4 threads that they were not so skillful. The finer and thinner the cloth was, with the stitch points and pattern sewn on it, the more appreciated the embroidered pattern of Dabuleni was. The stitch points on the shirt are of great value, and the demand is that they are made meticulously and as small as possible. The work is accordingly hard, being necessary 2 months to make a shirt for the village dance. The loom has its well-defined role for making a shirt. It has helped women throughout time to weave the cloth and make traditional shirts from the weft of the loom. They are completed with the traditional skirts, handkerchiefs, aprons and petticoats to dress the way the ancestors created them. The women warp the cotton threads on the slider with spools and then stretch them well on the loom. They ensure that the threads are strong, are not broken by the comb made of reed, and the weft is notched. The women choose what they like to work on the loom, like skirts, aprons, the so-called handkerchiefs of Dabuleni, or silted quilts such as rugs, wall mats, or carpets, using spun wool dyed with onion and walnut leaves. Flax was also used for shirts, but cotton cultivated in Dabuleni was preferred. In order to spin the wool, women gathered together where they also told one another their joys and sorrows. The cotton cloth made on the loom was then bleached in clear water during summer. When it was ready, they dried it, tailored the chest, sleeves and back, and, depending on the size, added extra parts on the sides. The embroidered pattern was the same. We find indulged a long shirt with a hem, and also the straight shirt, with a sleeve tailored from the collar, while the embroidered pattern is tailored in one piece. The latter lacks the crease, while the streams of the sleeves are separated from the pattern by an empty space of white cloth. The shirt has slight creases at the neck. The woman's dress indulged is completed by a split skirt associated with an ornamented apron in front called perestelka, both of them worn over the hem of the shirt. Men wore white shirts embroidered on chest with white silk, tight trousers of woolen baize, white waistband woven and embellished with ornaments, long fur coats, fur caps in winter and hats in summer, and pigskin footwear called opinkas for the feet. The shirt is straight with a narrow collar and a wide sleeve down of an archaic type. There were also worn inset shirts with a turned-up collar and the sleeve tightened on a cuff with a ribbon. Men's shirts are decorated on the collar, chest, sleeves, cuffs and hems with white embroidery or colored streams of red and black. The decorative motifs were stitched in silk or loose cotton. Wool and hemp were used more rarely. The charm of Dabuleni embroidered pattern is given by the harmony between color and seam. The hues were even nicer when the plants that were used to get the colors from were soaked in salt, vinegar and cabbage brine. Up to the 1940s, the national costume was considered a wedding dress for the woman. They used it even 20 years later when they went to the well to take water in brass baskets. The wedding traditional shirt was made of raw silk. In the south of Altita, men and women wore a cloak in winter during the holidays, made of thick woolen baize adorned with embroidery on the collar and chest. The shirt has no season. It is worn in winter or summer. It is made of cotton warped and woven on the loom by the housewife. Men's shirts are large and have long hems without flowers and butterflies, except for the lads or young boys or newlyweds whose collars, chests and sleeves are adorned with embroidery called streams. It is called embroidered shirt with streams, and it is worn mainly during the holidays. The rest from the waist downwards is covered by the linen breeches, made also of home-woven cotton cloth or hem cloth, but the latter is rarely used, as the famous Charles Logier said. For its sake and the feeling of belonging to the place where he first saw the sunlight, loving his roots, the Romanian peasant wanted to die in his ancestors' shirt, woven on the loom. A longing for man's profound bond with his roots, for the beautiful and picturesque places where he was born, for ancient traditions and popular costumes made possible the appearance of a small factory in Dabuleni town called the Pearl of Dabuleni. Over here, the women that inherited and preserved alive the skill of sewing traditional shirts and weaving on the loom strive to carry on the unequaled beauty of these lands and of the people who wish to preserve their identity over time in its smallest details. The mastery of the work learned from the elders, who loved and respected the popular attire, is today turned to account in the small factory, the Pearl of Dabuleni, and promoted all over the country and even beyond its borders.